Days, office hours. Saturday. Hope you guys are doing well. Um, Wanted to get an idea of where everybody's calling from in the chat. So if you guys can put in your city or state, whatever you guys want, so that way we can kind of see where everybody's coming from. If you guys have the ability to do so. Okay, Baltimore, Maryland, Maryland. Okay, so your neck of the woods, Tim. Nice. All right. Yep, Manuel Richmond. Yes, sir. What's up, bro?
So,
Baltimore again. All right, guys. You guys can raise your hands if you guys want, if you guys have any burning questions, or uh, if you guys want us to give you any, I guess, thoughts, comment, feedback on your guys' situation, your deals, or if you have just questions just in general, just feel free to raise your hand and happy to answer those questions that you guys have.
hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you hear you.
Okay. All right. Technical difficulties are solved. I am currently in a coffee shop trying to rapidly finish my 2024 taxes. Yeah, that's just life lessons here. How's everyone going? Oh, how's everyone doing today? Hi, Sean. What's up? Okay.
Cool.
Anika, what's up? Okay. People are Joe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, if there's any, Phil, do you have anything that you want to talk about specifically today?
Uh, not really, other than yeah, I don't have anything talked about. I'm just currently finishing up fixing and flipping, you know, stabilizing a commercial property and really just doing the real estate business. I mean, what's up, Sonia?
What up, girl? What up? Okay, so let's kind of I got like this rough story to kind of tell everybody. Sorry about this weird lighting here, but I know a lot of you guys are probably wholesaling out there. And I kind of want to bring up a story of what's going on with one of my deals personally, so you guys get an understanding that not every wholesale deal goes very smooth. Not every wholesale deal closes quickly. We got a deal under contract in Houston, Texas that is a pre foreclosure and it's a total mess. The seller is older. She's like 75 and she's kind of going through dementia. And she literally forgot that she signed a contract with me like 3 days later. So we told the title company that we don't want to end up buying it, but we do need to kind of help her out because her auction is next week. And then we found out literally on 2 days ago that she signed a purchase agreement with somebody else a week prior to us, and they filed a memorandum. So if you guys don't know what a memorandum is, that document goes to the title company and it blocks any sale from happening until that memorandum is lifted. Right? It's kind of like a lien on the property. So basically, the situation I'm in is I'm not trying to buy the house anymore because she's, going through dementia and I don't want to take advantage of her. That's the first thing. Number two is I'm trying to reach the original buyer on the other side to release the memo because she's going to lose her house in about like 10 days. So that's kind of like what's going on the back end. And, not every wholesale deal is about making the money, right? Obviously, we need to make money to like, put food on the table and all that stuff. But there are situations where you got to put the money aside and try to help the seller out because she's older. And can you imagine a 74-year-old woman getting kicked out of her house and not get any money out of it? So I just kind of wanted to share that, like, hey, not every deal is going to make you money. Not every deal is going to actually close. And sometimes you just got to put your money or greed aside for a second and kind of figure out how to actually benefit the seller, right? Because that's the whole point of us being wholesalers, right? So I kind of wanted to share that. What's up, man?
Dude, I have a question on that actually. Because she has dementia, I dealt with something very similar a little while back. Is she even able to sign the PSA because she has dementia? Like,
No,
that's what I'm.
no.
Yeah.
And that's why we put it in writing, telling to the title company like, hey, we don't want to proceed with the sale, but we do want to help. Um, but the previous wholesaler has a memo on it anyway, so it's kind of a mess. So right now she has a son So she has a son that's my age, and he's completely out of the picture right now. So he's like, he told her many times that I don't want to help you out anymore. So it's an absolute mess. So I'm trying to communicate with the son to advocate for his mother, and to kind of help her out because she's not picking up the phone anymore. So yeah, it's a ticking time bomb. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend having a lady that or a person with dementia sign a contract because you can kind of get in trouble for that. Cool. So for the sake of this Zoom, because this is usually a live Q&A, if anybody has any questions or anything that they're working on that they kind of need help tweaking, um, if there's no questions, usually what we do is we kind of go through a quick training session of like what we're working on. So does anybody have any questions or like anything that they're working on for the office hour portion? If not, then we'll go into a quick training session.
I know your boy Tim has questions. He always has questions. Oh, does somebody else have a question? Nobody?
Someone unmute themselves.
Yeah, I know.
Hey
Okay.
Raul, what's up, bro?
So my question is a little bit like it would sidetrack because usually I'm not able to come on Saturdays. I've got another job. Do you have any other meeting besides than this to like open questions? I'm getting started. I have not done any deal yet, so I'm getting just started and I have to get my first deal and I'm really hungry for that. So besides Saturday, is there any other call or like maybe how can I like, link up with other people?
Yeah, we're contemplating changing the live office hours to a different day of the week. Um, we tried getting some feedback, and a lot of people wanted to keep it on Saturday. But like, what time? Like, send a message on school to see what time best works for you. Because we're trying to get a poll of how many people we can get on certain days, right? Because I know Saturday is kind of tough. But Saturdays, a lot of people have been wanting to do Saturday just because they're not working. So just get with me offline.
Sure. Thank you.
But since you open your mouth and you're trying to get your first deal, are you trying to wholesale or are you trying to flip?
Oh, right now I'm trying to wholesale because I got stuck in a bad job market. So I thought like why not utilize the time? So I'm doing that, getting like learning all the stuff and I still have to like start calling like cold calling, but that's what I'm gonna do. So once I'm like, getting familiarized with the group, I think it's gonna get me motivated to keep doing stuff. So that's why I'm here.
Okay, cool. So I moved. So just so everyone knows here, I moved the entire wholesale course from the paid side into the free one. So from start to finish, it's all in there for you. So like, it's like the basics, the sales, and the marketing side. I moved it all into the free side. The second thing is if you don't have a lot of time, so if you work a job or you can't cold call for 3 4 hours a day, there are ways that I probably recommend you start with, because it's free and it's easy. So for instance, like, um, basically like the math equation is the free side is going to take the most time, and then as you pay, right, the marketing time frame goes down. But if you're not going to spend money on it, you need to do it the free way. If you don't have a lot of time, I would just honestly go into Facebook Marketplace and just literally DM every single person selling a house, right? That's the first way. Like, so if you send 100 messages on Facebook Messenger and 20 people respond and you get 5 people to get on the phone, those are 5 people that you can actually talk to, right? And actually have a conversation. And the second way that's really free and that's pretty easy, this one takes a little more time. That's like the typical, for sale by owner on Zillow. So if you go on Zillow.com and you filter out everything by for sale by owner, it literally has their phone number on it, so you don't have to spend money to skip trace. So you can just ask them like, "Hey, I see that your house is on the market. Are you looking to sell your property?" Right? Blah blah blah, and then you can have a natural conversation there. Does that kind of make sense? That's kind of like the beginner standpoint.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. So one question I remember now is like you mentioned in the wholesale course that if you're starting and you can use a syndicate 99. So like while using it, like I know you have to pay for it, like, but it's the cleanest list and it's the most recent in the market. So once if you get it, like how do you skip trace it? Can you do it by yourself or like you still have to use a software for that?
Yeah, so if you were to so imagine you bought data from somewhere anywhere, either through a company that I talk about or through a company or a software data platform. When you pull that data, you still have to you don't have to put it through any software, right? You can cold call it yourself. Like you can get a Google Voice phone number, like it's free, right? Google Voice, and you can have your list and you can dial right through your phone. You don't need to pay like $500 for a dialer when you're starting out. Does that make sense? Like you can. That's how I started. I just used Google Voice, and I just said, "Hey, are you trying to sell your house?" And that's how that started, right? And then as you
Yeah.
start making money, then you can start stacking different softwares on it.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Sharon, what kind of questions you got for fixing and flipping?
Oh,
You're
hey, you're
muted.
mute.
All right. Okay, sorry about that. I was just wondering right now, is it, a good time to fix and flip? I mean, Philip, I see that you're still doing it in Richmond. Just learning how to underwrite it, picking the right property, underwriting it, and just making sure that the numbers will work.
Mhm.
Um, once I sell it, like how long, should I expect it to be on the market? Um, things of that nature. Just
Okay.
making sure, that I want to just walk through the process with an experienced fix and flipper to make sure that I'm doing it right. And I
Sure.
won't lose out on money.
Yeah, I think it's always in any market you can, as long as you buy the right price, it's good in any market, right?
Hmm.
There's ultimately multiple exit strategies. Underwriting is obviously a whole different animal that I can't go over just in this call itself.
Right.
As you can
Right.
probably imagine, it takes longer than just, a couple of minutes just to tell you. Um, as far as is if I'm still fixing and flipping because that is my quote unquote active income, and I have a team that I have already that's been basically already vetted. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it really depends on where you buy, will determine how fast you can sell, right? I'm focusing mostly on the like mid entry level homes that everybody can afford in the Richmond area.
Right.
And normally, obviously, there's different, like if you buy a property that can sell for $250,000, it's probably gonna go pretty fast in a decent neighborhood. Um, and do you have MLS access by chance?
No, no,
Okay.
I don't. Mhm.
So that's going to be a little bit tough if you can't find the days on market. So that's how I distinguish if I should buy this house or not, is also the days on market. If it has a low days on market, then I was like, okay, this neighborhood is in demand. This neighborhood is desirable. So I'll go ahead and buy it. And if you're looking to fix and flip, this is your first fix and flip, I'm presuming that you're looking to get into.
It will be my second one. I did one in Baltimore and it wasn't a good experience. So um I would like to do one that,
Yeah.
to feel like it's a great experience. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can give you like a nice rule of thumb that I like to follow, right? So if it's $50,000 worth of rehab, I like to stay within $130,000 in gross profit.
Mm-hmm.
And that way I should be able to make around $40,000 roughly on a fix and flip. The more the better. If it's $150,000 spread with a $50,000 repair, then your profit will be obviously higher, close to probably 60, 70,000, depending on how much fees and how much surprises you may have. That's
Mm-hmm.
kind of a good
Mm-hmm.
rule of thumb that I like to follow. I don't do any full guts anymore for the sake of risk and things that I'll find in the process that will cause your rehab budget to go higher. For underwriting, I mean, what I can do is I haven't done this already, but I'll just release the class the fix and flip class course for free for the paid or for the free community. So that way you can just kind of go through it and just see how I underwrite my deals and get an idea of how to do it for yourself.
Okay. So in the Richmond area, because I do have a house down in Richmond that I'm turning into a co-living. Is there a certain like a price point? Um, well, I bought that house, it was turnkey, but I end up, I put some walls up, but
Mhm.
I purchased it for 300. So is there like a price point that you try to stay in, in the Richmond area?
Per room or per house? What's
No,
the,
per house, the full fix and flip per house. Like I said, I bought that one at turnkey status. But is it like when you're fixing and flipping, do you try to buy under 300, in order,
yeah.
to put money into it?
Well, I look at like there's also been a lot of factors I look into. I look into location. I look into the days on market. If it's in a great location, then I'll pay a little bit more. Just depends on how much fixing and how much renovation it needs. But I don't do anything luxury. I'll go as high as like 500, 550 at the most,
Oh,
and then anything
okay.
below that. And then Jodeci asks, what is the low days on market for me? Well, I look at anything below 15 days or below days on market. If it's within 2 weeks I can sell it, then I'll go ahead and grab it. But if it's like a 30-day plus kind of situation, I'll consider that into my analysis and then to see if I can compare comps to see if I can do it better than what they did, and then get that days on market a little bit lower if I can. Um,
Yeah, it
Do
really
you
depends on your
ever work with
market
a,
too.
I'm sorry.
what's that?
Do you
No,
ever
no,
work
you're
with a
good.
wholesaler?
Yeah, most of my deals come from wholesalers for the most part. That's why Tim and I have two different strategies. If he were to get a contract under or a deal under contract in Richmond area, I'll probably buy it from him. But most of my deals come from wholesalers. I'm
Okay.
looking on Facebook. I'm looking on, I'm doing social media posts. I'm doing networking events as well. So just little things here and there add up. And then I'll also buy leads to also try to close. I use 99offers.io. I'll put it in the chat here so you guys can, oops, not on. I can't edit it, but I'll delete this one. So I use that website. You build a profile and then you can pay for the leads. Leads are a lot cheaper on this website. They're about anywhere
Hmm.
between 20, $24 to like $30 a lead.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, hope that answered your
Okay.
question. Yeah. Anything else you got?
No, thank
All right.
you.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Cool.
Sorry, I'm like messaging someone on the side chat about SMS response rates, and someone said, "Is 5% SMS response rate good?" And I was like, "Well, it depends, right? Like 5% of 10,000 text messages is a lot of leads, so it just depends on how many you're sending out, right? That's like how that marketing thing plays. 5% to a normal person will say, "Wow, this kind of sucks," but like I said, if you're sending 10,000 text messages, you're getting 5% response rates. That's 500 people saying or responding to you, and 500 people, that could be a lot of deals, right? So it's a lot of perspective when it comes into marketing. And by the way, that question was asked by Tim Yee. So,
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. That was the question.
but Sean, right? And another thing too about, you know, when you ask Phil, like, hey, what's like your maximum purchase price? It really depends on where you are too, right? Like if you're out in Miami, I'm looking at all these houses in Miami to like, do co-living out there. It's like the average house is like 800 grand, so that would pass that $500,000 limit. And then if you're talking about Louisville, Kentucky, what neighborhood am I looking at, right? If I'm looking at the west end of Louisville, like the ARV on our property is like 100 grand, fully renovated, right? So it
Right.
just depends on like where you are and what type of flip you're trying to do. Because
Hmm.
if you're buying a house in a luxury neighborhood, that means you got to renovate it luxury, right? To sell it. So all these weird games you got to play.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Joe asks, how long does it typically take to close a flip once under contract with traditional financing? Typically, it takes about 30 to 45 days, but I like to compress it down to 30 days if I can. So FHAs, it can be a little bit longer because they have more restrictions. Conventional financing is typically obviously faster, and cash is obviously the fastest after title's cleared and all the contingencies are done. I've had as fast my fastest closing is about 20 days from start to finish. Um, uh, Emmanuel asks, what are the best marketing channels to use right now? I think that's a Will question right there.
Yeah, what's up, guys? I actually had a whole conversation with somebody about this recently. It really depends if you're local or if you're semi-nationwide. Let's just say if you're starting out with absolutely just not much money, uh, you can go the cheaper route, which is the free 99 route, or the county record route, or if you want to do inbound, which most of the guys that I work with, we do purely inbound marketing. You just have to expand the audiences to kind of lower your cost per marketing. So you instead of paying $150 for a lead in a local area, people submitting a form, you can get it much cheaper, maybe $30 to $50 cost per lead. But realistically, the best answer is all marketing channels work. You should be using all of them. SMS, because if you're looking at marketing as a whole, it's called omni-channel, right? So your SMS might result to them knowing your name and them picking up the phone call. For example, if you use, "Hey, my name is this. Are you looking to sell your property?" When you call them the next time, because you sent that first message, it pops up as maybe Philip, right? The chances of you picking up the phone is much higher. So each marketing channel actually layers on top of other ones. So the goal is to be able to just work within your budget and make sure that you're hitting as many marketing channels as possible. Because I know guys that are doing six figures with direct mail. I know guys that are doing radio. I was talking to one of the larger home buyers, Express Home Buyers out in Virginia. They do TV, PPC, PPL. So realistically, all these channels work, man. It just really depends on your budget. But let me ask you a follow-up question. Where are you right now in your business? Are you experienced? Have you tried different marketing channels? Like, what have you tried and how is it?
What's going on, guys? Emmanuel. Well, I think we talked. I think we talked last week. I've just been texting
Mm-hmm,
for the past 2, 3 years. Like I said, I'm on year 3 in terms of my wholesale business.
mm-hmm.
Um, it's always been up and down. Like I said, I've had times where I've been hitting, and then there's been times where it's okay, like these leads aren't very motivated, or like yeah. So I just go through waves of just like I said, just trying to find consistency within my marketing in terms of bringing in consistently hot leads, and then me just converting them into contracts.
Okay, so don't forget SMS. Are you only SMSing them or are you cold calling them as well?
Just SMS right now.
Right. So you should hit them with multiple touch points, right? So it takes about average of 8 to 12 touch points for somebody to interact with you and really build that trust. So if you're only messaging them once every 6 to 12 months, right, it's just not enough touch points. That's number one, I would say. Number two, it's also the quality of data, right? Are you targeting a broad list or are you targeting county record, right? So let's just say if you're talking about a broad list of all the homeowners, let's just say in the Tampa Bay area, if you're shooting out SMS, you really don't know if they need to sell their home or not. So that goes back to the reason why, in this group, we promote county records pretty frequently because at least, if, they have a foreclosure date within the next 30 days or so, even if you get a hold of them, they need to sell their home, right? So we want to kind of market towards the motivation. So what type of lists are you like targeting right now?
Just the generic prop stream, owner absentee. So I know that's a part of it too. I was like, I need to get sharper data that's separating myself from basically everybody else. But yeah, just basically just owner absentee data.
Yeah, so
Um,
everybody and their
yeah,
mom is gonna be texting and calling those people. So it's you're rolling the dice, but you're rolling it like 100-sided dice, hoping to get one. That's the problem. With county record and better data, you just instead of rolling 100-sided dice, you're rolling a 6-sided dice. That's all it is.
cool. Okay. So I can
Yeah,
definitely start there.
yeah, but also focus on more like motivated lists, number one, and then use multiple forms of marketing, right? SMS, hit them with a call, and then hit them like SMS and hit them with a call again. And then back to what Tim was saying a couple of weeks ago, the more niche the data, the smaller the list is going to be, right? So instead of you having to SMS everyone, because there's no way you can cold call 10,000 people, right? It's very expensive to skip trace and to call every single one of them and to text all of them. But if you only have 100 people or even 30, 40 people that are, going to foreclosure this week, you can call them, you can mail them, you can email them, you can send them letters, and it's not going to break your bank.
I hear you. I was gonna say, what success are you guys finding with that county data?
That's more of a Tim question. Go ahead, brother.
Got you.
I was actually just talking to Tim in the side chat here. He was asking me what my appointments were. So we have our KPI meetings on Saturday mornings. So we just had our KPI meeting today at 9 a.m. And from about 1,300 records a month in Houston, this week alone, we touched 17 sellers that were interested in selling. Out of those 17, seven were process calls. So if you guys don't know, process calls when we go through the entire process with them, motivation, property condition, price, whatever. And then we're submitting three offers tomorrow. Actually, we're sending three offers on Monday when we have our booked appointments for them. So just this week alone, we touched 17 people, which is pretty good metrics for 1,300 people. So I'm in a coffee shop, and I don't know if you can hear all like the coffee grinds grinding behind me.
No, you're good, brother.
But yeah, so basically, like to simplify what Will said, if you're doing bulk data outreach, it's kind of like the needle in the haystack, right? And if you heard that terminology, you're going to sift through 10,000 pieces of hay to find the one needle. And that one needle, most people actually end up fumbling because they don't have sales, right? So that's kind of like what happens. But with county record data, either if you pay it or for free, there is some sort of timeline behind that call. So if someone actually picks up the phone and you say, hey, you ready to sell? They're not going to say, well, I'll think about it in 6 months. They're going to lose their house in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right? That's kind of like the idea behind it. And I'm going to answer Claudia's email here, or not email, message. I'm reaching out to data pre-foreclosure. I'm running into scenarios where there's no equity and the interest rates are not good enough for sub two. What do you do with those? Are they dead? So there's a couple different scenarios, and this is a really complicated question. So I thank you for giving me this challenging pie to eat. But essentially, it really depends on who your buyers are, right? If you have buyers in the area that you speak Spanish, right, Claudia?
Yeah.
Dude, if I was you, I would become the queen of lease options or wraps. Actually, in Texas, you can't do lease options. So wraps in Texas, because if you know a lot of Spanish people in the community, a lot of the times it is normally a demographic in America where they have a lot of cash on hand because they work contracting jobs. They own landscaping businesses. They own masonry businesses, right? They get paid with a lot of cash. So a lot of these people cannot qualify for a normal mortgage, right?
Yeah.
So what you can do is if you have a list of buyers that you develop over time, because you're also a realtor, if you can match buyers to these houses, and you can still buy these houses subject to, and you can sell these properties on a wrap.
Okay.
And then basically you're breaking even or you're making money off the sale, off the down payment, whatever. And then when you refinance that mortgage, right, you can get into a lower debt.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? So that's probably the only way. You'd have to sell it to a homestead buyer when that interest rate is so high. But
Yeah.
so you can do wraps, but you obviously need the buyers. So I don't
Yeah.
suggest you offer that unless you have a list of buyers.
Okay. Got it.
The second question too is if the property is beat up, like if the property needs renovations, you can still buy it on subject to and then flip it.
Mm.
So you can do a subject to purchase, no money down, and then you renovate the property and then you sell it on the
Mm-hmm.
market. So there's a couple different ways. It just depends on the math.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think it depends. This one is like honestly zero. At least underwater. It's not even no equity. It's underwater. So I was like, well, it's probably not a good.
No,
Definitely not a
so
good flip.
how much time do you have until the auction?
This one only has 2 weeks left.
Okay. So there's a couple options you could do. This is like the more advanced stuff with pre-foreclosure, but you can um, talk to the seller, get them to do a third party authorization, and you can speak to the bank and
Mm-hmm.
see if there's any room. If I delay this sale, so hey, bank, if I delay this sale by having the seller declare bankruptcy to delay the
Mm-hmm.
auction, would there be an opportunity to negotiate a short sale?
Okay.
Okay, so a short sale, you guys don't know what a short sale is. Let's say the house has a $300,000 mortgage. You negotiate with the bank for them to accept a lower payment. So what if the bank goes, yeah, you know what, we'll lose 50 grand on it. Um, we'll allow you to sell it for 250, right? Now you've created equity, right, by doing a short sale, and then you can end up purchasing it. Or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the only way. That's the only way.
Okay. Okay. Good deal.
Am I getting your mind turning right now?
No, no, this is very good. It's I'm not having a lot of success, honestly. I think a follow-up question I was gonna ask is if you had any good recommendations for my VA is not doing a good job with the objection, so I think I'll need to swap who's calling for me. But the few I've got a hook on a few of them, and this one is one of them. It doesn't have any equity, so I'm like, dang it.
Yeah. So do you have my checklist, the 10 ways to stop a foreclosure?
Oh no, maybe I need to
Okay.
get a hold of that first.
I'll drop it in the school, but basically it's a checklist that you work with the seller, and it goes through all these different lists. Like, hey, have you tried to do a loan mod? No, I haven't. I can't do it. Hey, have you considered short sale? And you're
Okay.
like, what's a short sale? Oh yeah, that this process is when I negotiate with the bank and try to lower the payment, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that
Yeah.
will help you in your negotiations moving forward.
All right, cool. Thank you.
I'm looking at Bright Nestor's question. Hold on, I'm a dumb dude, so I can't. I gotta read this. Hold on. Okay, that is a Phil question. I don't. I'm like math, DSCR.
Okay, so my previous deal, I converted a half bath into a full bath and did a cash out refi of the DSCR loan. However, during the appraisal, they didn't count the full bath in the basement, saying that anything below grade isn't considered for an appraisal purpose in DSCR loan. Is that true? I don't think so. That's not true. It depends. Is it fully finished or is it just half finished? Right. Okay, it's fully finished. I would actually contest that with the bank and say, hey, the appraisal didn't count the full basement downstairs, and I'm assuming you didn't get as much as you probably wanted. I actually have a story about this. So I was renovating an air rental property that I converted to an Airbnb, and I was initially going with one bank, one DSCR loan, and they were taking their sweet time, and also the appraisal didn't come back as what it should have. And so what happened was I actually didn't even sign the closing documents, and I told my lender that I was going to go with someone else. And then the original lender basically changed their whole attitude in regards to like what I wanted, and then they kind of bent at basically at the knee for me, so that way they could basically get the loan done because they put a lot of work, time, and energy and effort into it, and they didn't want to lose it because of this small little thing. So for you, Bright, I would actually tell your lender because you haven't signed anything yet. I'm presuming you haven't closed on it yet. So I would actually like fight tooth and nail to get that basement appraised appropriately. Now they might have you pay an additional appraiser for that. So you might want to fight that as well, or get the same appraiser back out there so you can count it depending on how you negotiate with the bank. Or you can just get a second opinion on it too as well and see what the original lender says about that. That's what my advice to you is. That's how I would do it. Uh, but I don't know if that answers your question fully. But if you have anything else on top of that topic, just let me know. Okay, cool. Appreciate you, man. Yeah,
I'm looking through here.
yeah. Good question, guys.
Um, yeah, Joe asks, I feel like it's taken me a long time to find a flip in my market. Any general tips for finding one quicker, or how can I better position myself?
Joe, what are you doing? I know you're doing social media. I know you're tagging me on your stories. What else are you doing? I know. Oh, congrats on the kids too, by the way.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, so we're doing I'm doing social media. I do I work with a couple of different realtors in the area, and then a whole bunch of different wholesalers, and then we have our own wholesale company as well that we get some stuff through, but mostly out in more rural places in Virginia.
Uh-huh.
Um, so it's just I'm like I see a lot of quote unquote deals come through. It's just I don't see like it's like the numbers are never like kind of in my favor, and so it's like, do I am I supposed to like bend my numbers more to like get something under contract? Because if I do that, I feel like it may come around to like bite me around. So I don't want to necessarily do that. So I'm just
Yeah.
curious if there's like maybe something I'm not doing that I should be.
Yeah, don't bend your numbers, man. Don't bend your numbers. If it's repairs
Okay.
are going to be repairs. What I will, just looking at your social media profile, I'm not going to try to, this is all just love, by the way.
Yep.
You have on your Facebook, you have a blank like header. Like, is it a header or is it one of those, you know how you go on social media profile, what's it called?
Cover photo, cover
Yeah, cover
photo.
photo. Your
Okay.
stuff is just straight black, bro. You should have like your stuff on there saying you buy houses and here's how you contact me, right?
Gotcha.
That's what you should do. It's like free advertisement. It's like a billboard on social media. Like if you're not doing that, you should definitely do that. So your company name or whatever, or thing that you said, I buy houses, and then your contact information. That's how I do it on mine. You
Hmm.
should develop a buy box. Pace pushes this out to a lot of owners club. Basically, our homework is to build out a buy box. If you can build out a buy box and then just post that in your social media feed, like your Facebook, and
Hmm.
just pin it on the first thing
Okay.
they see, that will do you good. And then also blast it on other social media platforms like LinkedIn or whatnot. Um, you can increase exposures that way. I would also, I know you're working with other wholesalers, but Facebook groups, I have a wealth of, you're in a lot of them already. So try to like get on many Facebook or wholesalers list as you possibly can. Um, and then, this whole, like, I think the last like few months, I've underwritten like 60 deals already, 60 leads, I would say. And they're few and far between. So I'm in
Yeah.
between 60 to 70 that I have to underwrite in order for me to get a fix and flip deal.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
just
That
to
helps
give
out
you
a
some
lot too,
numbers.
because I'm
Yeah.
like, I think I may underwrite like 10 to 15 a week is like my current numbers. So I think like for this year alone, since I started tracking it, I'm at a little over like 400. Um, and I have like 1/10 of the experience that you do. So it
Sure.
makes me feel a little bit better knowing that you have to go through a good amount of them too.
Yeah.
Yo, yeah, Joe, the big yo, I will my headphones. I will caveat what Phil said, dude. And also, when you get these deals on your table, do you ask them like if the deal doesn't work, you give them feedback?
Yeah, yeah. I try to give them feedback of like what I'm actually looking for and like how to like kind of tailor it a little bit more. And then I always even try to like, even if my numbers like if they're like at 200 and I'm at like 160, I always say like, hey, like this is still where I'm at, just in case. I never know how much spread they actually have to play with and how much interest they're
Uh,
getting on. Still try to like give stuff out
do
there,
you?
but
So what I would do too is if you don't have an automated system,
hmm
look into automating your system in terms of like maybe a record manager or an Excel sheet, whatever like that can keep track of things for you. If you
hmm
know that deal coming came to your desk and you know that there's a good possibility, if your gut is telling you that that deal doesn't work, there's a probably a big possibility that that deal probably won't close escrow. So what I would do is I would keep that in mind and I would follow up with the investor, the wholesaler, and still provide value, right? A value first approach and say, hey, I don't know if you sold this house or not, or if you moved this deal. I'm still interested in buying this. Is there a way to like renegotiate the price, or can I help you JV this deal, like by renegotiating with you with the seller, right? If you're good at acquisitions, there's ways to, I treat wholesale deals, wholesalers sending me deals just like how I would treat a seller, right? It's still a
yeah,
follow. That deal's got to close or the contract's going to expire. And if the numbers don't work, it's probably not going to close, right? So um, that's just what I would do, right? It's just free leads that you can automate by sending a text message like, "Hey, just checking in if this deal closed or not, wanting to see if we can like work together on it," right?
Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, because that's something I've been thinking. Should I be following through, like after I send my initial offer, or kind of not? And so that's good to know too. So I'm gonna start doing that a lot more. I feel like that'll help.
Yeah, you can also track the closing
It-
date and just see if they can close like
Correct.
all of the week before because they're
Yep.
probably scrambling.
Nice.
Yeah. Second thing too, have you you've closed wholesale deals before, right, Joe?
Yes, sir.
Do you have your sellers on a follow-up sequence?
Uh, uh
You don't, right?
no. Like after we close,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, bro. So a lot of these sellers are not in a good spot, right? They've made some money.
yeah.
They're happy that they sold their house. Well, I keep them on a text campaign or a follow-up sequence to let them know, like, hey, if you find another deal that we close, like I'll give you a $2,000 referral.
Oh, nice.
Turn your
Okay,
sellers
so
into
kind of
you
turning your
turn your
seller.
sellers into an army. Yeah, lead generation.
Yeah. Okay, I like that idea. I never thought about that. That is awesome.
Yeah, turn everything you think about, turn it into a marketing channel, right?
Hmm. Awesome. Yeah. Because again, it's like I'm trying to like that's a big thing too, is like transitioning things over to like see the value, because that's one thing I always think about with going full time in real estate is like money from like how do you keep generating money over and over again? It's just like seeing these. I don't see these different opportunities,
Yeah,
money potential, and hearing that from more experienced people.
I know Will's gonna probably say this because I see his hands raised. You said predictability, right? Predictability is created by spending money.
Hmm.
So predictability is created by spending consistent marketing funds at a consistent rate and dialing in your sales process, right? Because if you create 10,000 leads because you spend $10,000 a month, you need a sales process to close those deals to maximize your marketing spend, right? Because the
Hmm.
way that the freeway, Facebook Marketplace for sale by owner, that's not predictable. You're just, hoping someone says yes. So, and I will get off my soapbox to let Will talk.
Yeah, so
Awesome. Thank you.
I was actually talking to a few guys. So all marketing for every business is the same, right? You have to know your target audience. So Joe, for like if you're trying to get more deals from wholesalers, you have to understand like what's the biggest pain point of them not selling you the deal. It's typically like you're not performing, they don't know you well enough, they don't trust you, they don't know if you actually have the bank, or are you trying to daisy chain their deal, right? So creating like lead magnets on your social instead of just talking about your flipping, you can also create content of like these are the questions you should ask, right? You can build an army of people that will share your content to other wholesalers and kind of use that as like a organic way to build your marketing long term as well. And I think that yeah, just focus on the pain of like what they have to go through and like talk about it, right?
So, all right. Yep. So,
Yeah, so go ahead.
no, you go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt you.
No, man, that's pretty much it, man. I gave that advice to somebody else a couple weeks ago, and they've been getting more action from just like posting resources that can help wholesalers find the end buyer. So
Okay.
now inherently, if you just messaging the ones that are actively doing deals today, you're also getting people that are actively, because wholesalers, they look for buyers all the time, right? Especially the newer ones. And you can capture the people that are getting to the space that may not have a buyer's list. And you're the one educating them into, okay, this is what you should look out for when you're for a buyer, right?
Gotcha. All right. You're posting that on, when you say you're posting that on like all your social medias, like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff.
Yeah, just create free resources, man. Anything that you think could help that person. Let's just say when you're finding a buyer, right?
Yeah.
For your sale deals, like what do you look for? And give the top 10 tips and then share that as a post. And I promise you people are going to share it.
Awesome. Like, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Someone trying to speak. Okay, so I do want to bring up a question here from Emmanuel. I answered it in the chat, but I kind of want to talk about it real quick, just for like a couple minutes. He said, I'm dealing with a lead that the auction is the same day, and can you stop it? The answer is yes. If you're a G, you can pull it off, but it's very complicated. So you need to obviously if the auction is the same day, the only legal way to delay the auction is to help the seller file for bankruptcy. The bankruptcy doesn't have to go through; it just has to be filed. And once it's filed, you can run it to the auction house and be like, "Yo, this guy, declared bankruptcy, filed for bankruptcy. Like, you can't auction the house." So that's the only way to do it. I know Will and his friends did it in North Carolina. They had to literally drive like 2 hours to the local county courthouse and had to help the seller file for bankruptcy right there on the spot and then tell the auction to like stop. So it is very possible. It's just a lot more complicated and takes a lot of effort to do it, but it is possible.
And you need the seller to comply because this guy drove out twice. So there's two auctions, and he lost his house both times, technically. The first one was a skeleton, so you don't have to actually file it with the county. You just start the process, right? The second time was a formal like we filed a bankruptcy because, and then the county didn't even record it until 30 minutes after the auction. So for 7 days, we thought his house was just gone. But I bought the property yesterday, so it was good. Everything was figured out. But he was driving out of his way, renew his license. So he made our jobs easier. But most people, they're just gonna be lazy and they're probably just gonna give up.
Cool. Anything else, guys? I think we've had a pretty good discussion so far. So I appreciate the question. I'm trying to see if I'm missing anything on the side. Oh, there's a marketing question in the background. I'm not sure if it got answered, but um, someone asked like, "What's the best marketing channel?" I know Will kind of talked about it, but I kind of want to be more specific. Like, are you talking about like which one you should do in terms of like cold calling, SMS, or what type of data? So that's a two different pronged question, I think, when it comes to lead generation. Never mind. I think I don't know
Hey,
what he
hey,
meant by
I
that.
have a question for you, Tim.
Yeah,
Um, so I know you ran your numbers today. Is it possible you could maybe share with us what the stats were on ready mode? Because I want to compare the data and see, what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong. So I want to objectively see to see if we're on par in terms of contact rate and stuff like that. So is it possible you could share that data that you have on ready mode and share
let
it?
me s- let me see because we just talked about this morning. Because my acquisition manager said the same thing. Was like, hey, sometimes the seller says that they're not interested yet, right? Or they say that they're interested in like 6 months. We don't count that as a metric, right? Like we just throw it into the CRM and set it as a follow up. But my acquisition manager actually has been tracking it on his own because he's a dog, he's a savage. So he actually tracks who's picking up and how many people he's actually had a conversation with. And then he follows the KPI metrics that I follow, process call, passes, and offers. Um, but yeah, I can definitely share that with you guys because we're actually building it out right now because we talked about it literally a couple hours ago, just to see like, hey, how's the data, how's it tracking? But based off of what we talked about, having 17 people pick up and have a conversation and say they're interested, I now know the data is legit and it's working, right? So for me as a higher scale business, I don't really care about connectivity rate, like in my opinion. That's more of like my operator and my partner. Like I'm looking at, hey, how many people has picked up the phone and said yes, and 17 out of 1,000 records just for a week is pretty good. So if we keep on track, that is 100 yeses out of a $1,300 record list. So the numbers are freaking crazy, right? Um,
Wait. You
but
had 1,000 a week. You're saying? What do you mean?
no,
Because
no,
13
no. So
divided by four is
no,
300.
no. So 16 times five, that's about 20 a week, right? So roughly about 100 people have said yes that they want to sell out of a month. Out of a 1,300 record list, that's pretty good KPIs.
Yeah. Um,
Does that make a little more sense?
no, 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 that makes sense. So it's about 10%, give or take.
Yeah,
10%.
for what we're tracking right now, yeah.
Okay. Because I'm trying to think about, and the reason why I ask, because I can share my numbers on actually in the chat here, over the span of me calling the data, because, and maybe it's just a feeling thing. It's probably just a feeling thing. But I gotta take a look at the numbers. But these are my numbers in the chat that I'm taking a look at, and I'm personally dialing these people at least one or two rounds a day. Um, so I'm trying to figure out like, dude, and then yeah, I did close a contract.
What does callback mean?
So callback for me typically means like if they hung up on me and I felt like they had some level of interest or they had to go or something along the lines of that. So so if you take a look at it, let's just take
So
a
seven
hundred.
people. Okay, I'll tell you right now, seven people that said that they're interested in 1 month. That's pretty good. Because how many records do you have right now?
I gotta double check, but a lot.
How much is a lot, bro? I called 50,000 records before.
I'd say like 700, 800. But these some of them are old. They're uploading me old leads from Data Syndicate. Some of them are old leads. So and to you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that. Today
I'm
I'm gonna
trying to
go
do some
one by
math.
one today. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go one by one today to figure out exactly what's going on.
So I'll say this based off your seven people interested in 30 days. That is a 8.7% response rate, right?
Sure.
So that's pretty good. And that's not even counting the people that say they're interested, or the people that say callbacks, right? The 12 callbacks. Your numbers
Yeah.
are good. I think you're expecting that like every seller is going to say yes. I think that's the
That's
mindset you need to
awesome.
get yourself out of, right? And then the second thing is your people that said the 38 people that said not interested. If you look at my business SOPs, like when they say not interested, I'm still calling them in 3 to 6 months. They're all going into the CRM. 38 people still going to CRM because I'll tell you this story real quick. I call a seller yesterday. They say no. And I follow up with them 3 months. They say no. I follow up with 3 months. They say no. I follow up in 3 months. So that's 9 months later. I ask them, are you interested in selling your property? And they go, actually, I've been thinking about selling. And I go, oh, what changed? Hey, I'm going through a divorce. If me and my wife Violet get a divorce and you call me that same week, I'm gonna sell you my house. They're not interested today, but they will be interested one day. So you have to count all these metrics. When they say they're not interested, if they don't tell you to F off or do not ever call me, they're getting a call from me in 3 months, guaranteed.
Okay.
That's how you make money in wholesale. It's not the today, it's the people they've been talking to for 6 months. Okay, and then eventually, when you start tracking your data, do you know how many deals I've closed from this lady? Literally reached out to me a year ago, like from a year ago in Kentucky. I've stopped marketing in Kentucky. I have screenshots and everything. A year later, I've left the Kentucky market. I'm in Houston. She texted me, "Yo, I'm selling my house now. Do you want to make an offer?" And I made an offer. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's a $15,000 assignment fee. I haven't talked to her in a year.
What are you doing to make it more memorable? Like, what are you training your sales guy? I'm just curious because like they get like hundreds of calls a day. So like,
Yeah,
is there
dude.
like something that you're
Have you ever heard me on the phone, dude? No, I'm just kidding. I'm playing. No, but honestly, it's not being
have you heard
pushy.
of?
It's not being pushy. Everybody is trying to push a sale today. Oh, my offer's only good for 24 hours. Oh, blah blah blah. Like you need to make a decision today because my partner needs to spend money tomorrow on a flip. Like I literally told this lady, she goes, just make me an offer or come to my house. I literally have a screenshot of her saying, just come to my house and look at the property, make an offer. I said, I'm not doing that. She goes, excuse me? I was like, why should I drive 40 minutes to your house and you're not actually ready to take an offer? That's like the worst thing ever. I'm not doing that. And she goes, oh my gosh, like you're the only person that's like, I'm like, because I know what's happening. You're not actually ready for me to make an offer and I'm going to drive 40 minutes. and waste my time, take all these pictures, negotiate with you, and you're not actively ready to make an offer or accept an offer. She goes, wow, you're the only one that's ever told me that. I was like, this is the truth. You don't even know if you want to sell it or not. You just told me that. She's like, okay. And I just stopped talking to her for a year. And then she texted me back.
Oh,
That's a little more extreme, but but that's literally what happened. I'll send you the screenshots. She literally texted me,
oh,
hey,
you
I'm actually thinking about selling it now. And I'm like, cool. Like, can you just send me pictures? And she sent me all her pictures. I didn't even go out there.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So it just
Yeah.
depends.
Okay.
But most of your deals, and I know you're, looking at results driven, they even say like over 30% of their deals is from follow-ups in the past.
Got it. Okay. So basically my
Um,
numbers are bad, is what you're saying. Like, I mean, if I can keep up the rate that I'm at, I could get a contract a week. So if we do the
yeah,
math on it, 70% pull through, that's three deals a month. And then there's also the follow-ups that we're not counting as well. If I have the proper system. Um,
I think if 7 people say they're interested in selling in the next 30 days, like if you do the 2.5 ratio, that's at least 2 to 3 contracts, right? You already
yeah.
got a contract today or the other day. So the
Yeah.
data is good.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, stop blaming the
Yeah. Yeah.
data.
No, no, I
It's a
wasn't
you.
blaming the data. No,
It's a you.
it's just
No, I'm just kidding. I'm playing.
yeah. No,
But
for
between,
sure.
yeah. So does that make a little more sense with like
No,
how
no,
you should look at data?
that makes total sense. I also think I don't have number one a good follow-up system, but we talked about this, but also number two, I haven't hit these guys across multiple channels as well, which
Correct.
is I think I'm
You are.
losing money on the table
You are.
because I
You
don't
are.
have Mailgun set up, I don't have text message set up, and I'm losing money because of that.
Correct. So and I wanted to say that as well. Like your metrics look like this right now, like with the 8.7% interested rate. That's really good. But also like you're just guerrilla cold calling. So like you're not doing that mail, you're not doing emails, you're not doing text messages. That number should increase, right, as you touch them more. So,
Yeah.
what if now your 8.7% turns into 13, 14, 15%? Now you're doing like you're literally potentially doubling or tripling your contract rate.
Right, right,
Okay.
right, right, right.
I'm
Okay.
gonna answer. I'm gonna answer the side chat. So, Twanika, I have 1,300 records per month in Houston. Um, Daniel, thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it. Does that all make sense, guys? When you look at like I love, and by the way, guys, the way that Tim is tracking his data is exactly how you should look at your wholesaling. Right? If you want to wholesale multiple deals per month, you have to track it like a business. Okay? Because now I can give him feedback on his business because he's tracking data. A lot of times when people ask me for advice in wholesaling, I can't really give them advice because I don't know what the problem is. I also you don't know what the problem is, right? So let's use an example for Tim because he did all his math. Let's say his contact rate was like 30%, right? Something insane where he's got tons and tons and tons of sellers saying yes, and he only has one contract. It's not a lead, it's not a lead or marketing problem, it's a sales problem, right? He's not closing enough deals or he's not going through the process enough with sellers to make a decision. But then if you're tracking all this data, you can look at it from a business perspective and see where the gap in business is. If you're not tracking it, no one can tell you what's wrong. Does that make sense? After a foreclosure date, do you stop calling? How do you validate if it's actually foreclosed? You could just look on, well, you have MLS access, so you can see if the house got, if the deed got transferred, right? Or because it'll say that it got sold.
But so you actually do that activity, or like how do you do it in your CRM? Like, do you stop calling them
No,
after
I
that date passes?
honestly, we send, we have one time, so we can set the automation to one time follow up, and if they don't pick up a call, like we just don't really bother anymore.
Okay.
No point because sometimes they might have delayed it. They may have delayed it, but if
Hmm.
the chances are it's pretty low. But we
Okay.
don't we don't validate it. It's too much work.
I know. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's too much work. But I was curious if you just trash those leads, or like how do you formally move on in the CRM?
You can honestly, here's the thing with the CRM, you can just keep it going.
Okay.
You just keep it going, and if they respond, they respond, or they'll just opt out, or sue you.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, one last question for me, and then I got to bounce. What's up, Tim?
Yeah, so I know we talked a little bit about this, but I'm just trying to get a good grasp of like your because I want to follow your process because you're doing something I'm not doing. So, and I know we discussed about this. So basically, what happens? Let's just say you get a brand new, fresh batch of courthouse data. Okay, the first thing you do is you upload it on ready mode, then you have ready mode dial it, and then what happens is, go ahead.
You want me to explain my whole process?
Yeah, like from beginning to end, how many times you call them, how many times you email them.
I should
After a
make a
certain
you.
amount of days, what do you
I should
do?
make. It sounds like I should make an SOP and drop it in the school community.
Yeah, I agree.
It's already in there, but it's already in there. But I will tell everybody in the chat or in the Zoom what I do. So data comes in. I take that data, you put it into a CSV file, and you load it two different places. The first way is ready mode, right? Because you got a cold call. And the second list is my CRM. That data goes into my CRM. It goes into an automation, which sets up, the campaigns. It sets up the emails. It sets up, the text messages, all that stuff. Ready mode, my acquisition managers are dialing, 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 dialing. When they have someone interested, they hit interested, and it transfers from ready mode into my CRM. That's how we track everything, right?
You set up a
Um,
webhook. You set up a webhook, basically. Got it. Okay.
correct, right? And then now you're still cold calling, pop, 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 and then your emails. You will, as a sales manager, you should go through your CRM, look at who is emailing, and then you read it and you call them and say, "Hey, my name is Tim from Home Buyers Who Cares. We've been sending you emails on how to help you stop your foreclosure. We just want to see how you're doing. If you need any help." Oh my gosh, you got guys emailing me, or you could say, "Oh my God, these stop emailing me." Right? They could go either way, but sometimes they'll say, "Wow, you're the guy who's trying to help me out. So by value, you have an in, you have rapport, and you just go through the sales process."
Okay, so let me be clear. So upload to ready mode. You have a webhook if it's interested, sent to high level. And then do you dial those leads onto high level a couple times and then you just drag them to follow up in a month and then you keep dialing them, or what do you do?
If you have your CRM dialed in, it should be automated. So you how you should have your CRM built. So the logic behind it, and Phil and I are trying to build this logic into the CRM because I'm thinking about it from a wholesaler perspective, and the pain in the ass it is to go through leads. So when you have a follow up date, so like I said, if someone is not interested, you would put them as 3 month follow up, right? That's my SOP. That's what I would do. You set the date for 3 months, and the automation should be after the next day, after the 3 month task date, it will automatically move that lead into the follow up sequence in your smart list. So then your acquisition manager, when they come into work, they have all these lists built out: discovery list, follow-up list, and that all is populated through your follow-up campaigns, right? It should all should be automated. So you shouldn't be thinking about it. Your acquisition manager should come on, log on to the CRM, and see the 20 appointments they have.
Okay, so you can move it to a smart list. Okay.
Everything should be done on a smart list.
Okay. Um, okay. Yeah, so I just have a couple more questions. I don't know if I know you guys got to go. Maybe I can
I'm
message
le-
you up.
I'm leaving, so you guys can stay on. If
Phil
Phil
can
wants to stay
answer
on,
my question.
I have to go. I love you guys. Appreciate it.
All
Thank
right,
you so
bro.
much for coming.
Yeah, make me the host.
You're the host.
All right, cool, man.